folks, welcome to this week's Talking Derry City, sponsored by the Shelton Hotel and CSKA. And I've just, as you can see, I'm joined by Michael Wilson this week as Simon has jetted off. And before we even start here, Michael, I see CSKA are now the main sponsors of Institute Football Club, so they're going on the community again, and I know they helped out the Derry City Legends, so it's good to see.
That sort of thing makes such a difference to local football clubs and to local. So fair play to them. You can't tip your cap to boys that are doing that. I mean, it's easy to sort of step away. If they're in the community, people appreciate that. I think they always do.
I know, so fair play to Shane and CSKA.
Yeah, big time.
Well, I suppose we've had so much to talk about.
Where do we start?
A European tie we have to start with at the Brandywell CSKA Sofia. A disappointing night, obviously, with a defeat, but unfortunately, it's everything off the pitch is what everybody's talking about. And look, Derry got what they wanted. They got the lead. Ellis Chapman got his goal, continuing to score goals. Momentum's up. Ellis probably should have scored another one just after it. The crowd's up. The Brandywell's bouncing. The place is going great. And let's call a spade a spade. CSKA Sofia fans charge the Derry City fans. And if I'm their manager, I'm going over and shaking that man's hand, because I can tell you that got them out of jail massively.
It's something. It was brewing, but it was brewing. Anybody probably who's making their way to the ground would have had that sort of feeling about the things. I mean, due to the weather, you know yourselves, it's a lovely day. So I actually made the decision to walk across the bridge and up, came up Abercorn Road and things like that. And I actually just happened to be walking there at the traffic lights as they were being brought down. So I was able to witness firsthand what happened. And I mean, it was so avoidable. It should never have been happening. I mean, I know there's been criticism of the police and things like that. And it's such a difficult decision to understand. Who decided to march these guys down through the town, in front of, even if there was no history of sort of ultra, which, I mean, I'm not a fan of this sort of ultra culture, but even if there was no history of that, it doesn't, if you were trying to organise a match between,
two teams,
you want things, you don't try and, put yourself in a position where you have to do that. So I thought they got away with one there by the time everybody got into the ground, but there was always that undercurrent. And you're right, I mean, Derry had come out that second half, they had got the goal, 3-3, the place is bouncing, and there's no doubt in my mind that it was the goal that sort of kicked that off. Do you know what I mean? And it undoubtedly changed the entire momentum of the game.
Now, I know we're obviously at that side of the South End Park side, and we could only just see fans and distraught fans with their children running towards us. Now, we didn't know. I have to commend Eric White, Desi McKellen and Gareth McGlynn really forward, because I played it back when I went home on the BBC Sounds, and they described it superbly well, to be fair, and discussed what was going on. They could see it obviously in the Mark Farren stand, could see everything. And look, 100% CSKA Sofia fans charged, started, lifted seats, broke seats through them at Derry fans. Some Derry fans, a small section, threw them back, and that obviously didn't help. But the majority of fans that were on that side, Derry fans, got out onto the pitch, and the minute that happened, you knew there were massive problems.
Yeah. Well, you know yourself, like, I mean, I wasn't actually working, so I was down. I mean, for the guys that know the South End Park stand, stuff like that, I was down sitting beside Conor Curley, Dermot McCauley, just in those seats. Just
not that far?
No, just to the Brandywell sort of side of the halfway line, on down there. So we were probably the next block or so up from the one that was, that everybody evacuated. And I'm telling you, it was scary stuff. And you were starting to look, thinking, here, is this time we, got out of Dodge here? Because, yeah, there was a wee bit, Derry scored and a few people were cheering, but that's what football's about. They weren't, they weren't being overly antagonistic. It was basically just celebrating. Every set of fans will look round and maybe wave over the ones, we've just got a goal, something like that. The reaction of the Sofia ones was just a disgrace from start to finish. It was just a disgrace, and it was probably more than a disgrace. It was getting frightening. You only had to look at those kids' faces as their dads and their mums and so was trying to get them onto the pitch. There was real fear that could have got out of hand. So, I mean, fair play to the stewards, you have to say that. I know
Correct.
Some people have been trying to, criticise them and stuff, but there's only so much you can do when there's a group of guys who, let's be honest, big lads, are trying to charge,
And look, they were up around the town the night before and the day of the game wearing t-shirts. We're not here for football. We're not here for a football match. That gives you everything. That was a clue what these boys were going to be at. Now, don't get me wrong, I know in these situations that when you're playing a team in Europe, both teams communicate. So Derry would have been communicating with CSKA Sofia, the police would have been involved, the steward, and all that. Did CSKA Sofia not really say that all these boys are coming or whatever else? But regardless, when they were here that day, the match day, and you see them up the town wearing these t-shirts, that's when the alarm bell should have been ringing. And that's where you're sort of, there's so much that you would love to know the situation where the police, did they think maybe get them on a bus, get them, hoard them in? But look, I have to also say that, the police then came in to the Brandywell, obviously last week, they weren't on the stands, but they were on the ground, they were a visible presence. There was, the dogs were on, they were in full riot gear, so
cameras were up to
everything was there in place. They were obviously, they knew themselves, they were warned, they'd seen, as you said earlier, coming down past the Oak Grove and stuff.
Well, to me, that's your warning sign. If you didn't think there was a possibility to do this up to that point, the walk past the Oak Grove bar and stuff should have had alarm bells ringing everywhere, because anybody within a mile of that could have seen that this was a tinderbox. It only needed a spark to go up, and and the Derry goal was that spark. These guys probably would have been a totally different match if they go,
they go 1-0
Sofia
up.
go 1-0 up, 2-0 up. They're everything's friendly and everything's great, but these guys, as you said, had the t-shirts on, basically telling everybody what they were planning to do. And they just needed that spark. The Derry goal provided it, and what happened after that was both frightening and disgraceful.
Well, this is it, and as I say, I know, having spoke to a few people around the club, having spoke to supporters and all too, you sort of get this sense of feeling of, look, this was unfortunately looking as something was going to happen when you seen it. I know there was some issues even over in the Mark Farren stand. There was a girl that was escorted out from up there. She was possibly on as the dignitaries in inverted commas with Sofia, all these type of things. And look, there was just so much going on that you need a bag of cat's eyes to try and keep your eye on everything. And that's why I have to give credit to the stewards who did calm the situation where it could have been a lot worse than what it was. But this is not getting away from the fact Derry City and CSKA Sofia are going to get fined heavily. The incident at the end of the game when an idiotic Derry fan goes on the pitch and swings for their goalkeeper, people are trying to say to me, he was quoting the Derry fan. No. Listen, folks, catch yourself on here. Yeah. You shouldn't be entering the field to play. End all story. And it's happened before with Derry fans away from home.
We'll tell you, we know what players take. They're trying to tell me that the goalkeeper wasn't getting dogs abuse.
Exactly.
So if you can hand it out, if he turns around and waves at you when they score their goal, I'm sorry, but you just have to stand there and take it, because that's how it works. You hand it out and you have to take it.
Aye.
Going onto the field of play, the sad thing about that is, and we have to say, when the initial trouble started, there were some, let's just call them foolish young people who tried to come down from the other stand to get involved. All I can say is, thank God they didn't get involved, because some of them guys did not look like people you would want to mess with.
No.
But it was very much on the Sofia side, and the criticism was going to come to them until that incident, and that puts Derry City right in the spotlight. And although we're talking now on Monday evening, we haven't seen the outcome of the Uefa investigation, but you're staring down the barrel now of a stadium closure, or probably at best a suspended stadium ban. Yeah, and plus a massive fine. So whatever money you made, you're probably just going to go up in smoke, it's just going to disappear. It was just so disappointing, and it has started a sort of wee debate amongst fans chatting and all with the policing issue coming into the Brandywell. Is it getting to that stage, do you feel, Michael, where the club have to seriously look at this? Now, I know the club have been working with PSNA over the years. The Bohemians game, the Shamrock Rovers game, the two games always spring to mind, and they have a good relationship with the PSNA and working out. But is it getting to that stage where you might need them a bit more of a presence in the Brandywell, because that could have escalated, and it might be a European type, but it's been happening so many times in recent years. As I said earlier, Bohemian, Shamrock Rovers, we had the incident years ago down in Sligo, a young fan, actually last year or this year, it might have been a young fan. This element seems to be creeping in, not just at Derry City, but socially. As it getting that stage, you might have to be looking at this situation. Well, there's certainly a debate to be had. I think you have to say that now, without going into. I think everybody around the Brandywell and the Derry City especially, we all know the history. We
Yeah.
all know, and you can't. This podcast could be 3 days long if we start getting into all that. I think what first of all you have to say from the outset is Derry City is lucky to have a great bunch of stewards in there in place. They're fantastic at their job. 99.9% of fixtures and games, they run like clockwork. The boys are superb. But the flip side of that is this is probably something that they hadn't dealt with before in terms of these European ultras, and we seen what they have done in, I'm not talking about Sofia, I'm talking generally what this sort of ultra culture has done around Europe. When you do have professional police forces in place and stuff like that. So maybe there's something that needs to be investigated at least for sort of matches like this where you do have that ultra culture in and there's a potential for trouble, because I mean the guys done well, but and they've done very, very well. We do have to say that again because we don't want to be laying criticism. There was a couple of guys, and I had to say it, sitting where we were, how they managed to hold them barriers in place. It was almost superhuman what they were doing there, and they really did. They did save the incident from escalating even further. But there's definitely a debate maybe that has to be had for certain things like that, because it goes beyond what a steward is able to deal with when you're into the realms of of law breaking and things like that, and that could have really escalated.
Oh, definitely. And yes, European games has been big, but they have been other incidents in League of Ireland games, and Derry fans have been involved. And having spoke to a lot of other Derry fans, they're even having that debate. After the game in the bar, we were out after it, and even the World Cup final on Sunday, we're all chatting after the FAI Cup tie, which we'll also get on to. They're seriously sort of saying, look, here, we've policed ourselves superbly over the years, but maybe it's getting to that stage where there's too much of this sort of, whatever you want to call it, rogue element that's creeping in the society, that's then coming on the football grounds. We've seen Drogheda and Dundalk clashing this year. It's just creeping in everywhere. So,
it's probably a debate that's even bigger than Derry City, in fairness. And Derry City always seems to be, the spotlight around the debate, but you're right, it's a societal thing. We're now in a society of extremes where there's no middle ground, everything's one way or the other, and that seems to be unfortunately going for fans, where again you look at how great that Derry City fan base is. 99% of them are great, but it's not the 99% we're talking about.
No,
it's the 2-3% who want to put themselves on camera or want to see them running, causing bother for the club. I mean, there will be a big fine, they will lose money, it'll have to come out of the club's budget. Derry City suffers. There's no winners.
No.
There's no winners in this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It depends what Uefa clamp down with. If it gets to the stage where Uefa do give a second leg ban, then against HNK they might do that. And then you will see up in arms the true fans, whatever you want to call this. The majority of the fans will be in up in arms if this is the case. But also quite a few of them are going to be like, no, this has been coming, so...
But that's the sad thing.
That is, exactly.
There are people who are maybe still in the Brandywell, who a lot of other fans would be going, how are these guys still here? There's been numerous incidents before. What do you think is going to happen if you keep allowing them into the Brandywell? And again, I don't want to focus too much on the Derry City fan side of things, because this was 90% Sofia fans. They were the aggressors. But the Derry fans didn't need to come down. They didn't need to confront the goalkeeper, because that has just brought Derry City into a debate which would have centred solely on Sofia. And could be the difference between a stadium ban and none.
Well, that's exactly that. And I remember a couple of years ago when there was a Derry fan on the pitch out in Europe, and he got escorted off. The camera wise, you sort of seen he got escorted off pretty abruptly and whatever else. But the thing then that sort of let the club down was then that previous Sunday Derry played at Fun Harps, and incredibly at the end of the game, Rory Higgins was the manager with the squad, invited that said fan onto the pitch, presented him with a jersey and took a photograph. Now this is the same fan that obviously got Derry City a fine. So that's what I'm saying, the club in a way don't help themselves there, where you're going, look, there's a lot of fans are upset and are annoyed that this continues to happen, and then you rewind back the clock, not only is that happening, but you're then sort of giving praise to this boy. There's a jersey, and sorry you get thrown off the pitch about a rough treatment when you're away from home in Europe, but it's these things that everything has to be looked at.
It needs. We've said this before. I'm even reluctant to say it because, you say things like zero tolerance, but and the club has probably said that in the past.
Well, they've done numerous meetings,
but there hasn't been zero tolerance, and that's the sort of sad reality of the whole thing, because there has been guys who have, like, we're not a massive club. Most of the stewards are doing their best, and they know these guys. They know the guys that are repeat offenders. Do you give a guy a second chance if he makes one mistake? Well, they probably have had that chance, So
fool me once, fool me twice.
Exactly,
crack, like,
100%, and that's the sad thing. It's because you could see this happening. The police are, of course, not without blame for the way that Sofia guys get in there, but Derry City does have to look at itself as well and just say, look, are we willing to accept this type of behaviour as a club? These guys are claiming to be representing us as fans, and anybody who goes on to try and swing a punch at an opposition goalkeeper, I'm sorry,
all bets are off then.
All bets are off. You can't do that.
Well, I suppose we will have to talk about on the pitch. And while it started off superbly, got the goals, we said, the 2 goals that we conceded were, putting it mildly, shocking.
Yeah.
The first goal by Patas, who'd scored 2 in the first leg, look, I'm not going to lie, folks, because of the incidents on the pitch, I didn't actually see the goal live. I looked up and Patas was flicking the ball over Brian Maher. It's when I went home, it was worse when you actually seen it then. Paddy McLean, Christy Grogan have to do better. It's a goalkeeper pumps it down the field. It's D&D stuff, you can't let the ball bounce. And Brian has to do better. If you're going to get him out, you have to take everybody out. And
I think he crucially hesitated.
Yeah, he doesn't anticipate that the 2 boys are struggling, not clearing. So from that point of view, it was a shocking goal. The second goal, look, at stoppage time, it hits Barry Carter and gets in. He's on the line and deflected it off him, but it's in stoppage time, which there obviously was quite a bit of stoppage time, and Derry were pushing to try and take the game on the extra time. It just was one of them nights. It was a case. I know James McLean had posted it on Instagram. They were there for the ticking. That's the thing. It should be annoying.
That's probably what it'll be in the players' heads now, and be Tiernan's head, things like that, because up until that, well, we've said it earlier, like up until the disturbance, it was a textbook display. They hadn't been superb in the first half, but they had a couple of chances, a couple of good chances, but they'd get in at 0-0, still in the tie again. They got the goal to level. Sofia were starting to rock, which is probably why we've seen the reaction out of the fans. 20 minutes later, it's like you're kicking off again at the start of a match. Very hard to get the momentum back, and I do have a lot of sympathy for Derry. There was 2 or 3 other chances. I mean, I think Patrick had a couple of headers, a couple of other people and things like that, where on another day they'd drop in for you. So overall, like, it was a decent performance. I mean, there's a lot to be encouraged about from the actual display, and I do have so much sympathy. Even the second goal, I think at that stage, Derry were just sort of throwing caution to the wind and trying to stay in Europe. So I'll give them a bye ball on that one. The first one, no, and I'm sure the guys don't need me and you to tell us. They know themselves what happened there. It was just a bit of indecision, probably by 3 players rather than by 1.
Yeah.
He nips in, probably can't believe his luck. But there was I came away slightly more encouraged by the display, albeit so frustrated. And it wasn't at the Derry City players. It was at the 20-minute stoppage.
Yeah.
Because anybody who's played football at any sort of level, junior or anything, if you've got a great momentum, you've scored, they're starting to doubt themselves. The last thing you want is for the match to stop for 2 minutes, let alone 20. And I think that certainly cost Derry a chance of going through.
There's no doubt about it. And then, well, I suppose now, folks, we'll fast forward the Sunday then. Obviously, Derry against Tolka Rovers. Now, I know a lot of people are saying to me, that was a bore fest, that was awful. And my response back to them is, go and ask children who they get in the next round in the cup. The cup, folks, is all about a win and move on. I know, having spoke to a Derry player, gone out, nobody will be talking about the Tolka performance if you get the Aviva at the end of the season. And
100%.
That's all it is. You get the result, you move on. And let's be honest about it here too, folks. I know people are going, 2 late goals. If Derry had won 5 or 6, maybe they had scored maybe 1 or 2, because they definitely had half chances, or no doubt about it. But if Derry had scored 5 or 6, there was nobody at Tolka Rovers could have says, it's fair enough. They had the bar post 3 times, scored 3 goals, kept a clean sheet. Chapman got another 2, got 90 minutes. Twist got 90 minutes. Dara Burns got 90 minutes.
We thought Ellis had himself back for first goal.
First goal scorer. The man was shooting on
chances.
sight. Exactly, shooting on sight. Or headers. Exactly.
Love to see it.
He's playing that freedom again. You know, which we all seen at Sligo, and it just didn't seem to work out for him at Silver for whatever reason. But he seemed to get that wee mojo. It's still early in his career. There, so we understand that, but he's definitely getting that sort of wee mojo back, as I say. Dara Burns got his first taste of Brandywell and got 90 minutes under the belt. So that's surprising in the cup game. But yes, it was poor, but it wasn't as poor as the World Cup final, folks.
No. Well, everybody says poor, and it's probably because we were landing down there thinking we were going to see 10, 11 goals and all some nonsense like that. Because let's be honest, Tolka Rovers, they're a Leinster League club, but they're not a bad side. And if you have any half decent side sitting deep as they did with 11 men inside 40 yards of their own goal, you're not going to just pick them apart. And as you pointed out, Derry could have scored 4 or 5 more, and it wouldn't have flattered them.
No.
I think what most people would have probably said, the poor nature of the game came from there was always a wee bit of an inevitability about Derry winning.
Yeah.
Albeit you get the odd wee scare where they broke, but at the same time, even if they scored, I would fully expect the Derry to go up and get another 1 or 2. You know, there was another gear or 2 in them there. And as you say, the main thing, you said any of them guys coming off the back by the European match, and in between
7 changes.
You're throwing in, like Twisk started, as you say, you know, Dara Burns, which is essentially a pre-season game nearly for him.
He's a couple of seasons.
Yeah. Liam Boyce got 20 minutes coming back on, who was a massive miss, by the way, for the Sofia match. Massive miss. But if you'd have said to somebody before, you're going to score 3 goals, clean sheet, no new injuries, job done. Take that all day long.
Well, that's it. And the draw is tomorrow, Tuesday, on RT Radio 1. We're back to old school on the radio. Used to be, you know, live on YouTube and stuff. So, don't know what this is, but it's on RT Radio 1.
Live on YouTube as well.
Possibly, yeah. I know that Conor McCormick, ex-Derry City midfielder and Galway United and Cork City captain, who's just announced his retirement, he's doing the draw tomorrow, so hopefully Conor can do us a wee favour and home draw. Conor, you know the rules.
That's all it is. All you can ask for is another home draw.
Home draw, exactly, and that's where you'd want it. Obviously, their disappointment for Van Harps on Friday night, their 92nd minute defeat against Bray Wanderers. So
it's a tough time for them at the moment.
You know, they're sitting bottom of the first division, and they've suffered a defeat there. It's a tough time, as you say, for Kevin McHugh.
I know you're trying not to smirk and all there, but
but
as much as the rivalry gets put aside,
I know exactly. I was up at the game Friday night, so no, I wanted Harps to win.
I think every Derry fan would love to see them back up.
Listen, you want Harps back up in the Premier League.
I want to see them back up and then beating them. That's
well, the last couple of years it wasn't quite like that, but no, I definitely Harps back up and Derry picking up 3 points against them, to be honest with you. But no, after the game on Sunday, you spoke to Nick Twist, and he sort of gave us a wee sort of insight of our European opponents and how he felt the game went on Sunday. So we'll have a wee look at this now from young Nick's interview.
Nick, full debut here today, first start. What are the impressions? Good win?
Yeah, good win. It was a good game, I think, against a tough opponent. They weren't that good, but they were on a low block, so it was hard to play through. The weather was nice and the atmosphere was nice, so it was a good debut.
It was a game that you were sort of coming in with everything to lose because you were expected to win quite comfortably, but as you say, they were very, very defensive and you had to be very patient.
Yeah, we scored the first goal in the first half, that helped us a little bit. And then the second half we got a lot of chances, but he didn't go in. And then after I think 85 minutes, the second goal fell, and then the game was done, and we felt that we got a win.
That was your first start. You've obviously been involved in the 2 European the 2 legs so far.
Yes.
What were your impressions of those games? Did you Thursday especially, maybe one that got away?
Yeah, it was unbelievable, to be honest. Brandywell was absolutely amazing. The atmosphere was very good. Obviously disappointed with the result because I think we're a bit unlucky. But we're gonna go to Rijeka for the next game, and we're gonna try to win that game.
What are you expecting there? Because I know you're dropping into the Conference League, but these guys are probably of a similar level to Sofia.
Yeah, I think so as well. I don't know them very, very well, to be honest, because we didn't have any footage. We didn't see any footage of them. but I think they're a good team. They play a lot of European games, so yeah, it will be tough, but we can manage to go through.
But it's one of them ties where you'll probably be looking to keep the game alive, to bring them back and create a similar atmosphere for the second leg.
Yeah, obviously we want to get a result in Rijeka. We want to try to get a win there, because then it's way more easier to win it, to bring it home at the Brandywell, because the atmosphere is amazing and they help us a lot. And the last game we came here with a 3-2 defeat, and yeah, you have to push to get a goal, and yeah, I would love to manage to get with a goal ahead to the second leg.
And from a personal point of view, you're sort of here a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
You have a couple of games. What are your impressions, probably, of first of all the city and the club and your teammates?
Yeah, it's very, very nice, to be honest. All the people are very, very nice. The pitch is amazing. The stadium is good. So yeah, really warm welcome.
What do you think is the potential here? Now I know it's early days to be asking that sort of thing, but you're getting to know your teammates.
Yeah.
What can City fans expect from you for the second half of the season?
Yeah, I hope to get started really soon, because obviously I have had not a lot of games before the 2 games I played against CSKA Sofia, and I tried to get in the first 11 as soon as possible, and I think we're gonna get a lot more points because we have really good players, and yeah, we try to get European football this year, so yeah, I hope to get it.
Well, there you are, Mick. You the champion at the end of the game.
That was the first time I had talked to him, and I thought it was the first chance, I'd had to have a look at him as well. And so I know he got the 10-15 minutes. I was away in the first leg, so I'd missed that one. I'd seen a bit of him in the second one, but looks like your typical Dutch player. He's encouraging to have him in there. He's going to just keep taking the team along, and he had a great attitude. Chatting afterwards, as you heard there, he's settling in well. He loves the place. He can't get over the Brandywell. Thinks it's great. The pitch goes without saying.
Yeah.
He's landed in a car, but I think he's over with his girlfriend and young son, as far as I know. But he's very positive about this week's European tie, which I love. I love the fact that he's going there and saying, yeah, well, why can't we go there and try and, if you pardon the pun, nick a result or whatever. So no, I was encouraged by him. I think again, and he's another one like Dara Burns, who's it's essentially pre-season, so you may not just see the best of him for 5 or 6 weeks till he gets fully up to speed. But I think what we have seen of him so far is greatly encouraging. He loves the place. We always like to hear that. He's brought his family over, which shows he's committed to the club. He's willing to give us a real rattle, and I think he could be a good signing for the club.
Definitely. You sort of look at the bench on Sunday was just, we were laughing and joking and going, love to have that bench every week. Not saying Mickey Duffy should be in the bench, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It's the standard of the bench on Sunday. Patrick McLean, Mickey Duffy, the list goes on.
You're going to get phone calls from the guys.
Exactly, that can come in. It was great that you now are starting to have a squad, and I know people are cracking up, but it's more signings. And look, I get that, but Mark Connolly's come in and he's identified what areas they need to strengthen, and the age profile too. He's looking, I know he's still, as we speak, we're doing this on Monday, still looking for a striker, but who isn't?
Hands teeth.
But he's, Christy Gerwin settled in rightly. You have Twists in the middle of field's done well. Dara Burns. It's a good age profile, and it's players that. But Ellis Chapman goes without saying. The two, particularly Burns and Ellis Chapman, is really exciting for Derry fans because they've seen what they have done in the League of Ireland. Burns, obviously, some Pats and Rovers, and obviously Ellis Chapman, who's hit the ground running. I know I had a wee sort of audio interview that spoke to Ellis after the game on Sunday, and he was just saying, look, things didn't work out at Shelburne. It happens just sometimes.
100%.
But he's delighted the way he's formed so far. He's got minutes under his belt. He's playing, and he's back to. He's not back yet, folks. I admit that, but he's getting slowly back to the Ellis Champion that we all seen at Sligo. He's arriving in the box. He's getting chances. He's taking chances. 3 goals in 3 matches. He can't ask for much more than that.
You can't argue with that. And I mean, I think maybe some people looked at him when he came in and thinking, what Ellis Chapman are we getting here? Well, he's given them a very early answer with the goals, and he does get himself into the box, which is something that I have always thought Derry have sort of been lacking from that midfield.
Well, probably since Kieran Martin. So Derry, and that sort of player always prospers at Derry as well. Just the way they tend to play. So, and as regards the signings, I think
the very fact that so many left meant, you know, you can have your debate about nobody wants the turnover. That's not what anybody's debating about. But if you're going to let so many go, you have to bring guys in.
Yeah.
The thing that we want to make sure we do this time is we're bringing in the right men for the long term rather than for 6 months. And in that regard, as you say, the age profile of the guys is excellent. You know, most of them are young, mid to young 20s type of thing. They've hit the ground. You know, Ellis has certainly hit the ground running. Grogan's done well. You know, and again, he's another guy's early. He probably needs a few games to get up to speed. You know, we were the same thing as what we're saying with Dara Burns and Nick Twisk. So I don't think any of those signings you could be anything but encouraged by so far.
Well, that's it.
We don't know how it's all going to work out, but at the minute they all look very positive signings.
Well, you've got James Clark back involved.
Yeah.
You've Liam Boyce come on, as you say, and it's one of them where you're sort of looking at it. I'm getting deja vu from my point of view of last year. I was kept saying to Simon was, listen, I think Tiernan Lynch will probably get his best team and his strongest team towards the end of the season when everybody gets up to speed and they've got matches. It's the same again. I think come the end of the season, you could get a bit of momentum, you get on a run. We're not saying you're going to get up any league table, but...
Well, we have to.
Well, exactly, but, you know, regarding Europe, the FAI Cup, you could get that momentum with players just getting the game time, getting the minutes under their belts, and then find out what your best team is. And that seems to be, you know, rinse and repeat again this year. It looks to be the same type of thing because there's so many changes happening.
It is. It's so frustrating. So frustrating because, like, while we're encouraged at the minute, we still where we are in the league. We shouldn't be there. We need to be up the table. So these are good signs, but those signs now need to be turned into points in the league table and get up the
maintained.
Exactly, maintained. The most positive thing you could say is, and a lot of the injuries are clearing up, bar probably Dara Markey, unfortunately. But
yeah, he's out for the season, folks.
Out for the season, like, unfortunately, because, you know, he's a great lad to have in there and things. But you've now got options, and that's what you always want. I'm hoping that those options don't translate into a different 11 every single week.
No.
Like we've seen at the start of the season.
Simon will go spare.
Simon will go spare, but, well, you know what Simon's like. He's probably seen these signings and already has his favourites for the league again.
Exactly.
You know,
he's looking to see if he can get a price.
Exactly. but no, there definitely is options there. The team I thought was strong on Sunday, you know, for the cup, and the bench looked, you know, you had, for a difference, you had people who were going to come off. The academy lads have done great, by the way. But you don't want to have to rely on them every single week when you're getting into Europe and you're getting the FA Cup. So it's good for them that they have that support too. So I think it's been a positive couple of weeks.
When you've also carried Winchester, you're still going to be a number of weeks away. Kevin DeSantis to get back on, and you've obviously a number of weeks away. Gavin White to get back on. You know, so it's these type of things that, you know, it's definitely building to the squad. There's no doubt about it. But I think it will be. Coming the end of the season is probably when Derry might be hitting a bit of form. That's what Derry fans will be hoping for.
Can they do it in time to get into because we're still saying Europe qualification is sort of like a bare minimum. They should be. But I personally, I think it's a long way off. There's no doubt about it. You're probably getting the FAI Cup might be a route to try and get on the Europe. They won the cup. Well, it's definitely become a hell of a lot more important over the last few weeks and stuff. But the good thing about the league, as I see it, and it still is always the same in the League of Ireland, you can string 5 or 6 results together, I can catapult you up the table.
Oh, no doubt about it.
The question is, can we do it? Now, let's hope so. But
well, this is happening. As we say, Europe obviously this week. Europe and Derry City in the last couple of years, they've sort of been hitting the bar. When you look at the likes of Shelbourne, Shamrock Rovers, Dundalk in the past, they've got into the group stages. It's sort of like whatever it's changed in now, phase or whatever it's called now. But it's changed now. It's sort of a gimme now in Europe. League of Ireland clubs are expecting to get in there. I know Shelbourne got a handy enough draw when they played Linfield and stuff like that. And, you know, that can help you, no doubt about it. Shamrock Rovers have done well again. They've obviously Roberto Lopez back from an unbelievable World Cup experience.
And a fantastic result they had.
Exactly, they come back and you know you're thinking one each, so might be in ball here. No, they just turned up. Young McGovern scored a couple of goals too.
Through the gears and frightening. To watch them.
You know what I mean? Graham Burke is now the leading goal scorer. I think he's joint maybe with David McMillan in goals in Europe, or maybe just ahead of him. Same as Robbie Keane or whatever it might have been. But that just sort of tells you that, you know, Derry sort of have to come to this party at some stage.
But that's the level now. That's the level. That's the expectation. And I think that's why there's always a wee bit of disappointment. In the past, League of Ireland teams nearly looked at Europe as a wee, not exactly as a jolly, but as a wee bonus.
Yeah.
You win a game or two, happy days, everybody pats you in the head and go on. Those days are gone. People want into group stages now because the new format of Europe with the Conference League and Europa League offers the smaller clubs that chance to get in. Now, you're never going to win it, you're never going to do anything, but it's the money. You get into that group, you get a couple of lucrative games. You've seen Dundalk recently playing Arsenal, we've seen Ronaldo and things playing against tiny clubs. If you can get into group stages, the money that you can bring in can be transformational for your club.
Big time, and that's
Rovers
has proven it. Like, you know what I mean. Then they can go out and sign young players and identify, like, a young Brennan signed from UCD. They're only signing 1 or 2 players. They strengthen their squad, and they're in a rotation period at the minute, changing everything around with a lot of young players coming through. But that's just fantastic from their point of view. From Derry's point of view, you even look at Bohemians get a victory in Europe. That's a biggie.
Oh, it's massive.
You also wanted more money. It's these type of things that the UEFA are basically trying to give the smaller teams money incentives. Let's call a spade a spade. That's what it is. Like,
they haven't left any incentives in terms of actually winning a trophy.
No, the days of playing Benfica, and all these big, glamour ties, open draws, they're gone.
Yeah.
So you really do have to get you have to get the league phase, and then you have the chance of getting a big name, and that's just the way it is now in Europe as far as UEFA are concerned. But Derry, as I say, haven't come to the party when it comes to that, and it's going to be another tough one in Croatia.
It is. Now, first thing we'll have to say is they're not a club. I'm going to let you.
HNK.
You're an expert at the pronunciation.
I know. I'm going with HNK, folks. So no, I haven't. We've done a wee bit of research on them, but they've been too much going on from the Foil Cup, which has been fantastic around the city starting today, and you had the FA Cup tie, so we haven't done as much as we'd probably like to do. But look,
what makes it difficult is the fact that
they haven't kicked the ball.
They haven't kicked a ball. So when you're seeing names, some of which look familiar, some of which don't, it's very hard to gauge what they. I'm sure Tiernan and the rest of them have seen. You heard Nick Twisk when he was talking to me say that they hadn't seen much footage of them. It sort of goes the same for us. We're digging around trying to find sort of what we can out about these teams, but there's not an awful lot out there.
No, well,
bar last season's, but teams have changed. Stuff like that.
Google, our great friend, as we use for Google Translate. Well, Google, who wouldn't lie, as we know, they were saying that their budget is apparently worth 38 million.
Well, you're playing in a, you've the likes of Dynamo Zagreb, Hajduk Split. Those are all clubs whose names would have a real European pedigree, and HNK is in with them. So, I mean, there could be no mugs. Let's be honest. You've always this vision of the technically gifted Eastern European teams coming over, and that's sort of what I'll expect with a sprinkling of guys from a few other countries. I think somebody was saying there might have been a couple of Swiss lads playing for them, things like that. But to be honest, until we sort of see them, we're relying on other people's opinions of what they have seen from last season, not even from this season. But therein maybe lies Derry's real chance. Like Sofia, they haven't kicked the ball, as we say. So.
Yeah, well, again, you're going out there like a Sofia tie, and you gotta. It's a case of just bring it back to Brandywell, keep the tie alive. Can you get back to Brandywell? And that's has to be the case again, and that's what they need to try and do. While you've, in my opinion, you're going up in a step of standard wise, because no disrespect, but like Croatia's decent. You know what I mean? You look at their national team. I know there people are saying it's an aging national team, but if you can produce Luka Modric, then you're going to be half decent. So
and there's players that have come out of that league, that Croatian league, that have gone for 20-30 million, things like that. So the standard in that league is good. It's a very good league. The strange thing I find nearly about this is you're looking at you were expecting to if they lost to Sofia, which obviously they did in the end, that you'll be dropping into possibly a more favourable tie. I don't really see this as a more favourable tie.
I actually think this is probably harder.
Yeah, and again we're going by maybe the leagues rather than the teams, so maybe we're wrong on that thing, but it almost feels as if you're dropping into a higher standard of team here.
No, I wouldn't disagree with you. Like, and that's the thing. And I spoke to Michael Duffy after Sunday's game, and I know Michael wasn't involved obviously in Sunday, but he will certainly be involved on Thursday night and leading his hometown club out in Croatia, and hopefully Derry can get a result, and that's what Michael talks to me about here now. Michael, another big week for the club. European football, going to be a tough one away from home.
Aye, it's going to be another tough game. Big time, but we look forward to it. Look, the last round we showed what we can do, and we took that team right to the end. They're a top side. Obviously disappointing to go out, but we just built on our performance and how we played and take that into that game now and look forward to it.
I was just about to say, it was the last time it was getting the tie still alive, bringing it back to Brandywell. It's similar again this week.
It is, aye. Look, it's going to be tough out there. Conditions and everything's going to be tough. They're going to be a top side as well. We haven't done much on them yet. We'll start that now. We're back in, but that's what you want. You want to come back here with something to play for, and we'll go out there trying to win the game. We're not going out there just to sit in the whole time. We'll have a game plan, and we'll look to do that, and bring something back to Brandywell and have another big night like the other night. The atmosphere and stuff was unbelievable here.
Well, I was about to say, we know it's going to be hostile out there, it's going to be tough out there. But you done it, out in Bulgaria, it was tough out there too, but you got the result.
It was tough. You have to grind it out at times, you have to defend, you have to be well structured, everyone has to be talking, but we done that. We were brilliant out there, and when we needed to go for it a bit and get the goals, we did. And we brought it back here, and so it's going to be the same type of thing out there again. 100% it's going to be a tough game, but look, we go out there with confidence from them 2 games, so we look forward to it.
I'm talking to Brandywell last week, the atmosphere at the something else. The momentum sort of changed when, shall we say, the CSKA fans erupted.
It did. I think it killed the game a wee bit when that happened. Look, we came out in the second half and we went for it. We had to score. We scored early. We were really on top of the game, and when you were playing, it just felt like you were going to score. It felt like that goal was coming, and then that happened, and obviously delayed the game for a bit, and it took us a wee while to get going again. We came back out, but even at that, it still felt like we were going to go and score again. The crowd were right behind us. The noise was unbelievable here, and that's what you want to play in. The big European nights with packed out Brandywell. It's class, and we're obviously disappointed then, but we want another one of them big nights in a couple of weeks.
From your point of view, you sort of see the squad now strengthening. Obviously, Darragh Burns gets his first start here. It's exciting, James Clark back involved. You could sit at the end with the feet up on the bench on a Sunday, but it just tells you the squad now how much it's sort of expanding and growing.
We've brought in a couple of great signings there, experience from the league, and they're exciting players as well. So it's good for the squad. We've been lacking a wee bit over the last few weeks. We've been down to bare bones really, bringing on subs and stuff, and there was a few boys out with injuries, but everyone's coming back now at the right time. The new signings are in, they're getting match fitness up, so the squad's looking good now going into these games. And
Ellis Chapman's chipping in with a few goals.
Aye, big time. Look, I know Ellis is a great player from playing against him over the years. That's 3 goals in 3 games for him. And the other night was a massive goal in Europe too. I was buzzing for him because they come in for these 2 games. You've had to show your hard work side of it really. Your effort and commitment, and he showed that straight away. And I'm sure when we start playing football a bit more and get into it, Ellis will be a big player for us.
From your point of view, leading your hometown club in Europe has to be special.
That is special. Look, every game I lead the team out is special, but European games it's just different. European games are different, and especially the other night, walking out there packed out Brandywell, the place didn't stop the whole night. It means a lot, and I just hope now we can go and put in 2 big performances now and get into the next round.
I was about to say, the next round has to be the target, because yourself, the League of Ireland clubs done so well. We're probably lagging behind in that in terms of doing that.
Of course, look, you see League of Ireland clubs the last few years have been doing brilliant. Teams qualifying nearly every year, and that's something we definitely want to do, and we have to believe that we can do that as well, especially after performances with them last 2 games, and we can give anyone a game when we're on it, so that's our mentality going into these games now.
There you are, Mick. Mickey knows himself, having been there and done it with Dundalk, and he also sort of agrees with me that Derry really need to start trying to get to the party in terms of getting through a round or 2, or getting through a round at this stage.
Well, if you're going to talk to somebody in terms of European football, Mickey's the most experienced at the club. He's got the best pedigree there, and he knows what it takes. So I'm sure Mickey will be talking to guys this week. He's probably done it before the Sofia match. And like I said, very unlucky only for that break. They might have qualified, but it's the sort of Mickeys and the guys like that who we're going to need a big performance for, especially out there, because Europe's one of them unforgiving things, as we've seen against Sofia, where Derry played really well and a couple of mistakes cost them 2 goals out of nothing.
Yeah.
And it'll be the same again. You need to be focused for the full 95 whatever minutes it's played, and you don't want to be coming back to the Brandywell. I don't think you can afford to be coming any more than 1 goal adrift.
No, I would agree with you.
And that's worst case scenario. Ideally, you want to be coming back level, or God willing, ahead would be superb.
Well, but exactly, but I think, look, it's going to be a difficult one, and Michael says that, you've the likes of Winchester and James McLean. They've got obviously James got international caps.
Yeah.
Winchester has played across the water quite a bit. Liam Boyce is the same, played internationally. Them boys are going to be massive in the change room, alongside, as you said earlier, with Michael. So I just think of looking at the squad and looking at the boys getting back in, while you have went up a level, I agree with you, in my opinion too. Croatia's a better standard wise, and I think HNK will be better than CSKA Sofia, but I think Derry's squad is better. The likes of James Clark back and the likes of Liam Boyce coming there. You've Dara Burns is available for this tie too. It could be, as I say, Dara Burns has to get more minutes to get all that, but you're getting boys on there, exactly. I think the squad is definitely on the right track going into this trip to Croatia.
And the thing is, I hope, now I don't know, maybe you can tell us better in terms of where Carl is and his injury, but he's the sort of guy who this tie would be made for.
No, I think if you've Carl Winchester back for the second leg, I think that's going to be where it's at. I think he's still, I think he possibly is getting a bit more treatment, possibly an injection this week. So normally them injections does take maybe a week, and I think he now again, because he hasn't played in a number of weeks, you're probably, if you are going to be involved next week, it's probably going to be from the bench.
It's a pity, because I think he's the sort of guy would, as I said, the game would be made for him. It's made for the likes of Adam O'Reilly, who, by the way, I think has been fantastic over his last, and he's firing them in from 30 yards.
Exactly,
and
off
that's
the
because
post.
you and Simon keep writing about him not scoring right.
Well, he's the one saying this. I'm trying to get more goals, so there you go.
Yep, he has been superb, but it's the likes of Adam, it's the guys in that midfield who are probably going to dictate where this game goes, because you can't just let them own the ball for 90 minutes. You're going to have to disrupt them. You're going to have to then be brave and get on the ball. Like, the bravery in Europe comes from having the bravery to continue playing your own game, not just giving it back to them.
Well, as Argentina tried last night.
Well, the less we say about that World Cup final, the better. But
yeah.
So there's every reason for them to be optimistic, but it's a guarded optimism, because these guys are going to be good, and you can't afford to switch off for a couple of minutes.
No, there's no two ways about it. And I know this time, trip-wise out, I know the last time they had, commercial flights, they were stop-offs and whatever else.
Planes, trains and automobiles?
Well, I'm doing a wee bit of planes, trains and automobiles, but it's not, it's more buses too. But no, it's fine, but at least this time with the team, the squad, there's a charter going out, they were flying out Wednesday, I think it's straight on to Zagreb, and then a bus down to the team hotel, and vice versa, and they go straight back after the game, and that definitely helps. There's no two ways about it, because I know the last time it was a 16-day camel ride to get home, when you're doing Ryanair, the switching here, the EasyJet, the all this, and it's tough, and that was a big thing too. When you went into that,
cup match,
you just sort of had to make sure that was all right, and that's why you were happy you were back at the Brandywell.
People don't see as well,
No, you were happy then the second leg was at the Brandywell, because if that had been that 18-day camel ride and then the cup tie, it might have been a wee bit more squeaky bum time. But no, I think, as I say, this is, again, credit to Philip O'Doherty sorting out there the charter flight. But no, I think, look, it's going to be a lot tougher, in my opinion, out there. And, Derry just have to try and have that belief, which they have seen, which they know what they had to do in Sofia. They had to bust a gut, they had to work hard, they had to accept that Sofia might keep the ball. Well, I think that's going the same way.
Keep your shape. You have to be disciplined and be prepared. Be prepared to go periods without the ball. Don't go chasing it if you don't have to. Things like that. And I mean, let's remember, anybody that was listening to you and Simon's predictions before Sofia.
Well, thankfully they appeared at half time.
Yeah. Well, there you are.
And they were gone when Liam Boyce equalised.
You weren't alone. Nobody gave Derry a chance to get out there. And 3-2 was a more than respectable result. Probably could have been a bit better even. So it's a sort of same again. No, everybody's going to write them off going out there, and I'm sure Tiernan Lynch will have that pinned to the, maybe if some of your Croatian newspapers pinned to the wall again.
Exactly, you know, that's exactly it. They get the, you know, CSK papers up and
But
saying them.
they have to be, yeah, they'll have to just, they have to be brave, stay together, stay disciplined, and just stay in the match.
That's it. Well, I suppose we have to go to that, you know, prediction time, because we're in the land of the unknown.
You got a blindfold or something here?
If what we're coming up against, I am actually more optimistic because of the squad and people coming back in than I was going to Sofia. But I'm still unfortunately saying that it's going to be a defeat for Derry. I think, look, if it's 2-0, it's still alive. Yes, you want it to be tighter and keep a tie alive, but I think this is going to be a step up, and I think, look, it could be a 3-1. I think Derry might get a goal in the counter with Alexa Clark and Mickey Duffy and boys back in there. Look, I think it's going to be a Derry City defeat, unfortunately, folks.
Yeah, well, it's like you say, you're sort of sitting here, do I go with my head or do I go with my heart?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing, because your head's telling you you'll accept a narrow defeat, but like at the same time, I think this match from Derry's perspective depends on how well Derry can keep the ball, and I am slightly encouraged by the fact that no matter how much I tried to dig around and look for things, I couldn't find any matches that played even friendlies, which I'm sure they have played.
Yeah.
But that is a factor in my book. That's
well,
a factor,
CSK,
as well as a pitch.
in the first leg 2-0, or sorry, in the first leg, the last 20-25 minutes, Derry were at them. You were sort of sitting there chatting, going to Kevin McDade and going to Simon, going, I think Derry's going to get another here.
Well, see, you took the words out of my mouth. I'm hoping Derry can get to 60 minutes in the match. Do I really think they're going to win it? No, I don't think. I think that would be a bridge too far. Could they draw the match? Yeah, I think if they can stay in the match and that's saying that's a hell of a thing, the first hour or so. But I do think this other team, they have to tire. They couldn't have. You know, they're going through pre-season, so I'm going to take a wild shot in the wind and say 1-1, because I'm hoping that any sort of punishment comes from Uefa isn't a stadium ban. Hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, folks. And then we get the Brandywell the way it was for a while against Sofia, which was, as you heard Nick Twisk saying earlier, it was fantastic. That atmosphere was brilliant, and I still hate the fact that the Sofia guys ruined that. I want another go at it. If the guys can go out there and get a 1-1 draw, I think that'll be fabulous. Well,
folks, join us next week where we will be doing it back in Derry. We didn't do one out in Europe this time because A, Simon bottled it,
and the guys won't pay me travel.
And B, he only goes first class, is right. And more importantly, C, the Wi-Fi was a wee bit dodgy out in Sofia, and we weren't taking that chance again here. So that's why we recorded here. But again, as I say, we'll get another one done after. Well, probably I'll get a few video interviews when we're out there and have that for next week's podcast. But again, I'd like to thank the Shan Hotel and also KRA for their fantastic sponsorship. And join us next week.